My name is Curtis Harris. I hope that you don't see much of me today and that you actually hear a lot from these wonderful guests. I'll be hiding behind this mic stand. So what I do want to lead with, the purpose of today's panel is to help anyone in the audience leave with what I think is some alpha information on securing energy and Bitcoin mining. These are actually three tremendous experts at energy contracts, negotiations, and Bitcoin mining, and I want to give them a chance to share alpha information with you. They also all work really creative and interesting companies, so that's where I want to start with. So, Clayton, you're furthest away from me and told me that you're out of your element speaking in public. So let's start with you. Clayton, you're Clayton Gear. You're with Cholla Energy.
It's Cholla. It's
Cholla.
Yep, named after a cactus that's hard to kill. So that's why we use that for our company name.
I am really interested for you to share with the audience a little bit about what Cholla does, the cactus that's hard to kill, but also about your own background and expertise in energy.
Okay, so I'm Clayton.
A little closer right here.
I'm sorry, Clayton Greer, Vice President of the Energy Division in Cholla. We've got a lot of projects going. We have 12 sites that we've purchased, and most of those are in West Texas. We have 5 active FEA interconnect agreement requests in process with AEP and with Encore. We're looking to either develop Bitcoin mines or data centers on those sites. My background is I'm an electrical engineer. I worked for Public Service of Oklahoma for 10 years doing substation design, power system planning, and then had I was a supervisor for the trouble department, the first responders in the city of Tulsa for a while, so that was a fun job. And then I moved over to the ERCOT. I started covering the ERCOT market, doing market design work for a number of companies, including Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs. And then a little over a year ago, moved over to Cholla. So.
And at what point in that journey did you first hear the word Bitcoin?
It was the Large Flexible Load Task Force, yeah. So that was where we started covering Bitcoin. And I think that's where Gideon and I met. And Gideon said, hey, why don't you come over and work for us for a while? So the Large Flexible Load Task Force, if anybody doesn't know, is ERCOT's process that they're using to set the rules that we will be governed by. And there's a lot of new rules that are being proposed that are, some of those were talked about in the previous panel, and they're very impactful to the way that we operate. So you might want to get involved if you're not involved already.
Gosh, that's a lot of fantastic information. Thank you very much. I know I actually have some more meaningful questions about what Cholla's up to and how people can engage with your company, but I'll save that for like a second round of questions here. And I know natural order is to come to Samantha next, but I was raised by a Southern mama, and since she wasn't first, we're going to let Samantha go last with her introduction. So I'll kick it right now. Ryan Knuckles. Ryan, you wear a lot of hats. You actually are involved in a lot of companies. One of your companies is a primary sponsor here, but you're involved in a lot of different things in our ecosystem. So would you please be purposeful to share with this audience? They think that you have expertise in energy, and so take a couple minutes and let them know about what you're up to and some of your expertise in energy, so that when we do bring home some good points later, they'll be like, that's that guy. Yeah, please take a few minutes.
Curtis, thank you very much. I'm Ryan Knuckles, everybody. I'm one of the co-founders of Pump Jack Power, Crypto Power, and Digital Infrastructure Group. Grew up in the oil and gas business here in Texas. Graduated LSU Business School in 2013, came back to work in the family oil and gas business. My brother-in-law married into the family in 2016, and basically one day on the golf course, he'd been a successful energy broker here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And we basically kind of just hatched an idea of, hey, there's not a power provider that's solely tailored to the oil and gas industry. And so we had a lot of just, obviously industry connections being in the industry. And 2017, we hit the market, got a lot of business, and very, very fortunate to be a part of a successful company. In 2019, the West Texas mining boom started to hit. And I very quickly realized that the same white glove approach that we gave to the oil and gas industry is needed in the blockchain. Obviously, power is the biggest expense, and as a power provider that basically deals direct with all of our customers, We simply just kind of created a vertical to provide wholesale electricity to our customers. And as a power provider, we have supply and service agreements with every transmission utility in Texas. So we basically have created a streamlined process to not only get you interconnected into the grid, but to service your operations. As we kind of got crypto power started, we realized that a lot of customers needed different types of solutions to kind of get them interconnected to the grid. Obviously, crypto power's job is just to flow electricity. And so recently, I just started Digital Infrastructure Group. It is a development firm. We basically offer site development, infrastructure solutions, and some asset management services. And so kind of putting all those opportunities together, we really offer the industry a complete full turnkey solution in ERCOT to serve you power and infrastructure.
Dude, I love it. I actually want to pull out another story. I want to help share with this audience how deeply connected you actually are to Bitcoin. So I have a particular story that I want to get out of you. I just heard you a little bit right there, but I'll save that for shortly after. Samantha, my background was construction, civil engineering, zoning, land use. I have 5 kids. I have 3 older boys and 2 younger daughters, and it was easy to look out into construction and see men who were leading. But when I would catch women entrepreneurs who were building these hugely successful businesses, it really resonated to me as I was out, and I was this girl dad, right? I had these daughters that I wanted to expose to my industry. So I have a decade of paying attention to women being leaders in a male-dominated industry. And my goodness, friend, this might be some of their chance to get to know you first, but you are one of the biggest industry energy secret giants. And thank you for like what you're doing for my daughters and the future women developing in Bitcoin and on blockchain, for your leadership. You're Samantha Robertson. You're with BitDeer, and BitDeer is these fabulous words. Few people know enough about BitDeer, and no one knows enough about you. Please don't feel like it's egotistical. You're not shilling. Actually bring value to these audience members by take a few minutes. Who is BitDeer, and what about you and your role, your background and experience? Please share with this group some of those things.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for the wonderful, very kind introduction. As Curtis mentioned, my name is Samantha Robertson, and I've been working at BitDeer for 2 years. BitDeer is one of the world's largest Bitcoin miners. We have 895 megawatts of data center capacity globally. And what's a very unique feature about our company is that our founder is a guy named Jihan Wu. And I describe him as the Warren Buffett of Bitcoin because he completely understands the cycles, has been in the industry since the beginning because he translated the Bitcoin white paper from English to Chinese. And our industry was really industrialized at scale in China. And that's essentially how I became involved. I lived in mainland China for 5 years. And I moved back during COVID, and I had no idea how I was going to use my professional experience in a world where U.S.-China relations were quickly becoming quite hostile. And then out of nowhere, the Chinese government banned Bitcoin mining. And so there was a need to have someone with verbal and cultural fluency in the space. And I'm really grateful that that happened because I was brought on to do data center development at BitDeer. And, my first couple weeks on the job, all of these electricity companies, utilities were emailing me. And I said, I don't really understand why. I think this is going to be a small part of my job. So I created an email label called Power Things. And it's my entire inbox, essentially. And so I think what has been really great about this opportunity is that I knew nothing about power markets or anything related to interconnecting load or building infrastructure projects, and have had this incredible opportunity to learn and to build this career. And now I think, I'm really honored to be a leader and hope that during this panel we can all share things that are insightful for everybody here.
Wow, amazing introduction. Thank you. Audience, thank you for being here. There's a lot going on. I hope that this conversation is purposeful for you. I think you're here on purpose. So I do want to bring value. What I want to do now is just work backwards. So Samantha, I'm going to keep you on the hot seat with what I think is a question that I'll frame briefly, but I think is relevant for everyone. We had a conversation a couple months ago where you shared an explanation around how you thought Bitcoin miners should do a different job, their messaging, their talking points. Think of Riot, who announced, the demand response proceeds and the negative, pushback from the media. You had a mindset that miners could do a different job of messaging that. Do you remember that conversation?
Not word for word, but I do still share that thought. So I think that Clayton mentioned that there is something coming from ERCOT, who's the grid operator in Texas, called the Large Flexible Load Task Force. And it was born out of this idea that there were these massive hyperscale loads, so the amount of electricity that could power thousands of homes that wanted to connect to the grid and do so very quickly. And so the grid operator wasn't sure how to handle that. But another feature that kind of goes back to the messaging for the media is that Bitcoin miners can curtail very quickly. And while that's true and there is a service, we curtail so quickly that currently the grid operator doesn't know how to handle it. And it actually impacts how they procure reliability services in this existing framework. And so the message should probably be, we can help the grid, but we have to work with the grid operator first to see where we fit into that framework. And so I think that's one thing, because as is everything, sometimes in the media or sometimes just in life, it's seen as a binary. It's either good or bad. And the truth is, it will be good, but we're not exactly sure how. And so we have to be, I think, more pragmatic and honest about the fact that this is a completely new type of load. And it's coming at a time when the grid and the economy is going to become completely new as well. We're electrifying everything. And so I think that the better messaging is to say, we can be an asset. And so we're here to help, and we're here to teach everybody, whether it's policymakers, the team at the Large Flexible Load Task Force, the media. So I think that's one piece. And the second is more from the revenues or the financial perspective that comes from having a large load. Of course, when the grid operator procures reliability, they do so as a financial incentive, and that totally makes sense. But the biggest piece and where miners actually make the most money is in the financial markets that operate alongside the operations of the grid and the prices there that inform the power market. And so I think that it's really important to know that when Bitcoin miners are boasting really large revenues, it's because they are hedging the power price in a financial market that's completely separate from ERCOT. They're not getting paid by ERCOT. They're getting paid by a single counterparty in the power market or the commodity markets around electricity.
If you're a Bitcoin miner of any scale where your company is ever going to face any sort of PR opportunity where you're going to need to have messaging, you're going to need to share your thoughts, whether that's you and your company or if it's someone else, find this video. Listen again to those last 4 or 5 minutes for really a blueprint on how our industry could and should be communicating. That's fabulous. Your leadership is crucial. Thank you, Samantha. Yeah, Ryan, I want to ask a meaningful question about your work, but I promised this engaged audience that I would help demonstrate the depth, the prices that you've paid to be a Bitcoiner. I first heard of Bitcoin in 2012, and a friend told me he was mining it and described that he had set up a computer system that was fishing for these coins. I devised this picture in my mind, like an 8-bit, like some guy, like literally there was a fishing reel. I've never heard of it again for 8 more years. That friend has since disappeared and off the grid. I think he ended up incredibly well. Ryan, I know you don't love the pain that comes with this story, but you've thrown away more Bitcoin than most people in this audience have ever owned. Is that likely to say?
Yes, and funny enough, my father, Waylon Johnson's in the corner, and this story goes back to my mom, who's his wife. I'm a big poker player. My first introduction into Bitcoin was through poker. Basically just getting online payouts through poker. I'd accumulated a very large stake through that. Basically, long story short, put it in a box in my closet through college, come back one day, and I was like, Mom, where's this box? I said, oh, we just threw it away. I didn't think you wanted all this stuff. And so I was just like, well, I've been kind of determined to get that Bitcoin back, and so that's why the motivation to be a part of the industry is a little extra.
Mom, I've shared that story with more people than I should. You're famous at all the events that I go to. You do wear a lot of hats. You actually you and your family have built these really intense energy businesses, and then you recognize the ability to serve Bitcoin mining and then to serve infrastructure development through Dig. When I think about you, I sometimes just leverage crypto power, but I know you have a lot of hats and sponsoring under different jurisdictions. Miners need electricity, and you have a unique product offering in crypto power. You actually have been servicing energy users for a long time and have figured out how to tie Bitcoin mining into that in a really advantageous way. Again, this isn't, there's no shill. It's not like you're making a commercial. You literally have found unique solutions. Would you share about how, if someone wants to get into Bitcoin mining, they've obviously got $1 zillion in their pocket because it takes a bunch of money, but now they're ready to procure some electricity. Can you talk a little bit about working with you and your company and purchasing electricity for Bitcoin mining?
Absolutely. So to give a very simple example, obviously, Pumpjack and Crypto Power, we are what ERCOT calls a LSE, a load serving entity. We are also a qualified scheduling entity that basically schedules generation to obviously our retail book. In a very just kind of simple way, let's take Chevron, for instance. Chevron doesn't call an energy broker. They don't call a load-serving entity like me. They are their own in-house power provider with their own credit line that buys electricity wholesale from generation companies. We basically give oil and gas operators and blockchain operators the same vertical to procure wholesale electricity the same way that the large industrial miners do. Now, there's basically kind of levels to the game as your kind of credit worthiness grows, but as your business grows and as your credit history grows, your ability to basically get larger, transaction type deals with better terms just grows and grows and grows, right? You could have $100 million in a bank account, and if you have no credit history, people are still, very, very timid of you. So always kind of what I like to tell people is, everyone wants to go build the Riot, mega facility. You really got to build an honest roadmap for your infrastructure, for your energy purchasing, because really having a structured roadmap of where your honest growth wants to go. Number one, the interconnection agreements that you've got to get, being honest with those transmission providers. Right now in ERCOT, there's close to 40 gigawatts of interconnection requests into the grid. Now, not all of that is going to be, real, but there's just a lot of gluttony, in these interconnections process. So being honest with your roadmap, and then once you kind of get interconnected and you actually have, this is the amount of S19s or S21s, whatever I'm going to run, knowing your true energy demand, and so you're not over purchasing for power is huge. In the industry, what we like to do for clients that haven't been business with, we do an energy analysis on all of their assets. Guys, I cannot begin to tell you the millions and millions and millions of dollars that we see in just simply wrong billing, overbilling, underbilling. And so protecting your energy, building that roadmap, and having a true goal and being partnered with your energy providers is just incredibly vital.
I was with you at the end of the last panel when one of the audience members was asking about some unique electricity infrastructure that you were aware of, and you're like, hey, don't talk too loud about that. And now I wonder if there's energy billing people in the audience that are saying, oh, don't talk too loud about that that there's so much lost in billing. Thank you very much. Clayton, maybe a couple questions back to back. The first one, because of my involvement with the Texas Blockchain Council and their incredible leadership in our industry, I was on a call recently, and that's where I learned that through your company's leadership that you've been put forward personally as a voting member for ERCOT. Do I have that story right?
I've been a voting member at ERCOT in the past at all the positions that I've held previously. So now we are actually pursuing that again in the different segment, the load serving segment. But yeah, we'll definitely be trying for that again.
So, true compliments to your company and to you personally for investing the time, for taking our industry and providing leadership inside of that. And I knew that element that you had previously done that, but for your current organization to be forward thinking, to put you there, just a smaller thread on that, is that there's, the application window is closing soon, but is that an annual? Is that a biannual? When would be the next time that other companies could look at getting someone from their team involved?
Right. So that's done annually based on the membership at ERCOT. There is a fee that you have to pay in a registration process that you have to go through. I believe that closes soon, if not
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Oh, okay. So if you don't have that registration complete, you can't vote for your segment representation. So that's kind of, I would need to depend on folks coming in and voting for me to be a part of that segment. So we need as many votes as we could possibly get.
So eye to eye, and I see some other people from your company. Thank you for your leadership there. Will you, so a lot of times at a conference, people have something to sell, right? They have a business that's available. You can hire me. You can work with me. There's a way that we can work together. But I don't think that your company is out there forward-facing too much, saying, hey, here's ways for us to work together. But you are such strong brand and message leaders. Everyone wants to work with you. Is there holes that you have? Are there ways that people in the Bitcoin mining industry can work with you?
Oh, certainly. We have at our sites, we would be open to working with somebody if they want to host or do something along the lines. We're looking at getting the interconnects, getting the infrastructure built to supply the power, and then it's a question of who wants to build the mine at that point. So yeah, if somebody wants to come in and fund a mine, we're certainly open to that. And we're also open to data centers in the same way. We were talking about contracting earlier. We've taken a different approach. We're on the buy side. And so we do what we call the Texas hedge, because we prop mine with our mine that we're operating now. And since we don't have obligations to investors or obligations to any hosting agents that we've sold slots to, we can just decide when we're going to run the mine, when we're not. So we basically watch the energy prices. We have control software that runs the mine down whenever the prices are high. Anybody that was on this last August knows that we didn't have a lot of uptime, but it does ensure that you're making money on the Bitcoin that you're creating.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Samantha, I'm fortunate that I was able to see you at a conference, the Pacific Bitcoin Festival, and you introduced me to one of your coworkers, Tom. And that was my first time to find out that Bitdeer produced containers, and we've taken a close look at them. They're a fabulous modular data center. And I recognize you for your energy expertise and leadership. I gravitate to energy and just pay so much attention to it. However, I would think I was reasonably in the know, and I didn't know that Bitdeer provided services. Would you educate this audience? What are different ways that other Bitcoin mining entities can coordinate or collaborate with Bitdeer?
Yeah, sure. So at Bitdeer, we see what we're Bitcoin mining as a commodities business. And so essentially all Bitcoin miners procure machines. They need to drive down the cost of electricity to have higher margins. But over time, all of our margins are going to become compressed. And so what Bitdeer sees as a way to maintain strategic advantage is to continually vertically integrate. And so one of the ways we did that is by producing our own containers, both air-cooled or immersion. And that's a product called Minerbase. Everybody can stop by our booth and meet my colleague Tom, but the goal is to become increasingly capital efficient. So we're able to make these below market and offer them to anyone in the industry at a really competitive rate. Because the way that we see it is that we want to have the lowest cost of infrastructure, which currently for our air-cooled containers, it costs about $140,000 per megawatt to build out, which is the lowest in the industry. And so doing so with our expertise and with all of the advantages that Bitdeer has as a global player, and to be able to provide that service to anyone in the industry. We also have a cloud computing product that serves retail customers or institutional customers. Those are all the things. And then, of course, we offer hosting services as well. But for any updates, Bitdeer is a NASDAQ listed company. And so you can always check us out on all the things that we're doing to develop our company.
Aren't you supposed to have a small attorney pop up and give a disclaimer? Oh, yeah.
Yes, the major disclaimer.
Yeah, absolutely. We are close to wrapping up. There's roughly 90 seconds left from each of you three. Thank you so much. I'll finish with you, Ryan. So I'll come back down to Clayton and we'll finish down the line. Maybe what I would hope for is alpha from all three of you, so similar, framing for a question. The easiest one would be like, what's a trend you're seeing? And again, there's not a lot of time. So what's a trend you're seeing that they should be paying attention to? Or what is something that's like really good information that they need to go home and study more and learn how to execute? What's a piece of juicy, saucy information for people who want to get electricity into Bitcoin mining? So trends or alpha information. Clayton, to you first.
Well, I think the main thing on energy contracting is know your plan, know why you're putting a plan together, know what your flexibility options are, know whether you have any load that has to be fixed and what can be flexible on top of that, and make sure that you're structuring a contract around that. There's a lot of people you can work with. Obviously, the larger you are, the more options there are to work with in the market. And just, develop a plan, know why you're developing your plan, and then work it. And then be willing to go back month by month and check and make sure that you're doing the right thing. And then be willing to change it if you need to.
Thank you, Clayton. I really appreciate you being here. Samantha, similar framework, trends, or alpha information as we close?
I was going to say something really similar. When you're looking at sites, what might be an attractive pricing node now might not be in 5 years. So definitely look at how solar generation or batteries might impact any area where you're developing, and be patient. We've seen that utilities want to better study our loads and the impact on the grid. So yeah, go in with the plan, be intentional, and be patient.
Samantha, thank you for being here. Your leadership to me in our industry is truly phenomenal. Thank you. I'm glad for this time.
It's my pleasure.
Ryan, I saved you for last because when you and I get a chance to talk about energy, you really have some insights. You're able to pinpoint like what people are really looking for and to help them get it. I know that we set this up a little bit in advance, that I had wanted some alpha, so hopefully you've come with something good. I'm putting you on the spot, but trends that you're seeing, or what's some secret sauce to acquire energy in Bitcoin mining?
Guys, in a very simple sense, trends-wise, I was at a conference in Dubai a couple months ago, and I basically gave a big presentation on Bitcoin mining companies are slowly evolving into pretty much digital energy companies. The game here in Texas is energy arbitrage. If you would have had 10 megawatts online playing demand response services during Winter Storm Uri, you would have cleared close to $20 million in 72 hours. Riot cleared close to $300 million. the impact that that the energy arbitrage game is going to have on the Bitcoin mining industry is massive. Here in ERCOT, we just launched a new demand response program called ECRS. Right now, the average in load response, it's averaging about $70,000 to $80,000 a megawatt. This new ECRS program is averaging about $265,000 a megawatt. And I got to give a shout out to my boy Joe at Grid Beyond for giving me these updated numbers last night. So, in a long story short, I am just absolutely a big proponent of Bitcoin miners really starting to evolve into energy arbitrage companies, because I really believe that the trend of the Bitcoin mining industry integrating with energy is absolutely happening right now. We are pioneering it, and everyone in this room that is trying to go play that game or is playing that game, the rewards that you will see coming in the next 10 years is going to be absolutely massive.
Ryan, the friendships that I've been able to build in this industry of men with character and integrity are the best thing that I take back home to my family. I'm thankful to know you. I'm thankful for all three of you being a part of this panel. That's our time. Audience, I hope that you got something good out of this. Thank you very much.
Hey guys, thanks for coming out to the 2023 North American Blockchain Summit. It was the best summit yet. We look forward to hosting you again next year. If you enjoyed the summit or like what you saw in this video, be sure to subscribe. If you're interested in learning more about membership in the TBC, go to texasblockchaincouncil.org to learn more.